surprised that it's really African Americans that really gravitate to wanting to come back and all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is primarily motivated from emotional reasons and things like that. I totally agree with you. I think what the big step that has been made since 2019 is that at least the perception of Africa in general has changed.
It's starting to change.
Yeah, people are wanting to either move here, go on holiday here, all that kind of thing. But definitely, where I feel the challenge is, and that is part of the work we're trying to do, is to focus on the business and investment aspect and actually taking Africa seriously as a real economic destination. Not just a place that people come for emotional, historical connections and want to retire or whatever, but no, the diaspora needs to seriously ask itself, Africa and the West, realistically speaking, where are my economic opportunities are? Because I still feel that prejudice is very much so dominant. And that is the next level we need to go at, and that's where the work has to be done, is that we need the global diaspora to seriously take Africa as a real economic destination. You know, beyond emotional connections, historical, all of that. No, the same calculated mindset people go and say, I'm going to go to Asia or Dubai, or even us saying we're going to go to the UK or the US to see economic opportunities. You know, diasporans really need to start questioning this conventional thinking.
Absolutely. Hello, welcome to the Great Return podcast, where we have conversations rooted in wealth creation and African development for and by people of African heritage, both at home and abroad. I am Lordy Emen, your host, and our mission at TGR Africa is to contribute to making people of Black heritage and the African continent prosperous through investments and business. Today, we are discussing, does Africa offer more opportunities for diasporans than the West? And we have with us AG Ajagwe Chanayire from TGR Africa for this conversation. Welcome, AG.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good, great. So, I'd like to kick off this conversation looking at the conventional thinking about the West, that the West is best. Obviously, for long periods of time among the continental African diaspora, the idea has always been that if you want to succeed, you need to travel abroad. But is this really the case now in modern times, do you think?
Yeah, so I think if we are honest with ourselves, yes, for quite a long period of time, you know, if we look at Ghana, for example, unfortunately, with the fall of Nkrumah, Ghana lost its national patriotism. And it was around that 70s, 80s time period where the national development agenda, you can see that people's spirits were kind of killed. So the focus since then, and I'm sure the pattern is the same for most African nations, was that, okay, well, if Africa is not going to develop, you know, we had all this great optimism, all that kind of thing, then we need to travel. And yes, for a long period of time, the West did actually need global labor for lots of different reasons. So if you look at the UK, for example, they recruited from Jamaica, they recruited from India, you see. And yes, I mean, the conventional thing which held up for a long period of time is if you can travel, you go abroad, and that's where you make your money, that's where you build your life. Then when you are retiring, you build a house in Ghana and you come. And that has been the conventional thinking, and it has been continuously reinforced. But I don't think we actually ask ourselves, because we forget that when this whole trend of migrating abroad and it's becoming the thing to do, let's travel, when that was happening, it was within the economic context of, what I've just highlighted. But in our modern economy, that's and in our modern world, that's not actually true anymore. But unfortunately, both local Africans and the African diaspora, those of us that, for example, are the continental diaspora, we genuinely believe, and we still reinforce this thing.
You
see, I was shocked by the amount of people that think it's crazy that I want to return
home,
because everyone here still really wants to travel. But I don't think people actually understand the fact that the reasons that made it attractive to travel, that made it possible to prosper economically, those reasons don't exist anymore. And they are on a downwards trend.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the time that myself and my husband went abroad, again, for me, although initially my mind wasn't that I wanted to go abroad, but the overwhelming feeling was you're lucky to get the opportunity to go abroad. So even for me, although it wasn't what I particularly wanted to do, it's not that I was against it, but I didn't have a reason to go. I really didn't have, apart from the fact that we were thinking, okay, you go and get a bit of experience and come back. But for most people, that was even crazy. It's like when you get a chance to go abroad,
you go
and that's it. And why will you even think of coming back?
Yeah.
And I mean, looking back, I understand why. Yeah. Even then, to be fair, at the time, getting a job after university was a bit easier than now, I'll have to say. Looking at the number of students who are home now without jobs, the time we finished, I think it was a lot easier, and you could do something for yourself, looking for a job and all that. But still, even at that point, because the thing is, you can still see people who go abroad, how different they are in terms of they look successful compared to those who were home. And like you've highlighted, at the time, they were really looking more for labor. So the attraction was there. But what at the time that you don't see is actually when you go abroad, yes, your living standard is raised. Most people can afford a comfortable living standard, but there's no real route to becoming wealthy or but we perceive them to be very wealthy. We didn't see the difference. So our perception of people who go abroad and then they come and they're doing, whether it's they're having a wedding or whatever it is you're doing, it looks very high class, very expensive, very rich. So we didn't actually understand that a lot of these people, they go amass some money, come and do these things. It's not the way they live every day.
Yeah.
So I would say for that reason, for the local people, going abroad was a huge thing. And then even for the continental diasporans who managed to go abroad, the idea of leaving abroad to come back home is seen as stupid. Really, is not. I don't think it was. People will say, "Are you mad? Are you crazy?" So, okay. So now I want us to look at the historical diasporans, such as the African Americans and the African Europeans. I mean, now we know that they have been fed such negative propaganda about Africa since they were born, that for long periods they never really saw Africa as an economic destination. What do you think that this is changing? Do you think that now the way they see Africa is changing. Historical diasporans.
Yeah, so when I look at the historical diasporans, looking at some of the African Americans that have even been on the show and hearing their perspective,
Yeah.
it's very clear that also from their side there has been some kind of coordinated effort
Yeah.
to really create a gap between themselves and Africa. And one of the main ways was really painting an ugly picture of Africa.
Yeah.
You see, so a lot of African Americans, yes, there's always been the Pan-Africanist movements that have always existed in America.
Yeah.
But the vast majority, unfortunately, the kind of social programming they received, it meant that Africa was just not even considered.
No.
You see,
Yeah.
the most people would think of Africa and all they will see is starving children, all the those type of charity videos. So the same stereotypes that the white Europeans have about Africa, the African Americans also had that too. But luckily, with recent developments, as we've seen and we've talked about, with especially the year of return, Dirty December, we look at the internet and the fact that people are sharing their African stories and sharing it to their social networks.
Yeah.
That is causing a change in perception to happen. And I definitely do think a lot of African Americans are starting to actually go, hang on a minute. No, I think here is, there is a challenge, there's a cognitive dissonance happening.
Yes.
Where African Americans are seeing it for themselves and comparing it to what they've been told.
Yeah.
So yes, I definitely think we are witnessing, both from the continental side and the historical diasporan side, that there is the beginning of at least this change in this kind of conventional wisdom we have been programmed to think of from where we're from.
Yeah.
Because even me, myself, the kind of social programming I receive, even though I know I was from Ghana, I lived here and went to the UK when I was 9, all that kind of thing. I never felt a reason to want to really claim it and claim my Africanness and be proud like that. You see, and I certainly for a while did not even consider the concept of actually my opportunities economically are probably
better here,
better in Africa than it is in I was still for a while operating off that conventional wisdom. I didn't even question it, you see. So, and it's what's led us to writing the book, The Great Return, is that's what we are saying, is we are witnessing what we feel like will be a historical period between diaspora-Africa relations. And what is very clear from when we speak to clients, people within our network, it's very clear that some kind of diaspora awakening is taking place. And it's happening simultaneously to us all across the global diaspora. And which is a positive development.
I mean, it is very much so. But I would also say we need to even do more, because I do believe there is that awakening. More people are wanting to know the truth for themselves and seeing things for themselves. But there's still a lot of convincing to do. I still think there's a lot of continental diasporans that if you say to them about Africa being the place to do business and especially for investments, they don't take you seriously.
Oh yes, I mean, one of the things I found interesting is that the people with the most negative bias towards Africa, amongst the diaspora, it's actually the continental diasporans, those of us that are actually from here. We have the worst attitude towards Africa. And I was surprised that it's really African Americans that really gravitate to wanting to come back and all these kinds of things. And a lot of it is primarily motivated from emotional reasons and things like that. I totally agree with you. I think what the big step that has been made since 2019 is that at least the perception of Africa in general has changed.
It's starting to change.
Yeah,
yes.
people are wanting to either move here, go on holiday here, all that kind of thing. But definitely, where I feel the challenge is, and that is part of the work we're trying to do, is to focus on the business and investment aspect and actually taking Africa seriously as a real economic destination. Not just a place that people come for emotional, historical connections and want to retire, whatever. But no, the diaspora needs to seriously ask itself, Africa and the West, realistically speaking, where are my economic opportunities are? Because I still feel that prejudice is very much still dominant. And that is the next level we need to go at. And that's where the work has to be done, is that we need the global diaspora to seriously take Africa as a real economic destination. You know, beyond emotional connections, historical, all of that. No, the same calculated mindset people go and say, I'm going to go to Asia or Dubai, or even us saying we're going to go to the UK or the US to see economic opportunities. You know, diasporans really need to start questioning this conventional thinking.
Absolutely. I mean, it is good. We're not saying it's not good to come for the emotional and the connection. That's the first point. That's the first. You can't. It's very difficult unless you have some kind of support or, you know, information to just decide to do business or invest in Africa. But beyond the coming to visit, the getting the connection, the healing from coming to where we believe we are from, and coming for the sake of spiritual growth and being at one with our ancestors, we then need to move on and think, okay, so for business and economic reasons, it is actually good. It is a very, very good destination when it comes to business.
Again, the key aspect is, given the contextual period we are now in the modern times, and where the overall global economy as it fits into Africa is going. You know, I think, like we said, it's in the past, yes, you could make the argument that the West is best. But what we're saying is people need to start questioning and look at the modern context we live in. Look at what's happening in the West. Look at what the changing world order, and look at what's happening in Africa and where Africa is moving into, and really ask yourself, am I actually in the right place? You see?
Or also, is my investment focus?
Yes, that's what I meant. Holistically. Am I putting my economic... Am I betting on the right region? That is the key thing.
So what would you say has been the long-term negative consequences of these kinds of attitudes, propaganda, the negative propaganda and thinking regarding Africa?
So one that immediately jumps at me is the problem of human capital flight. Because what that has done is it's literally created a brain drain in Africa. As it stands right now, I don't personally believe if we had all the money in the world, we have the talent, unless we import it, to actually facilitate development. And how is this created? Because human capital flight always witnesses your best and brightest leaving your country. When your best and brightest leave, it creates a knowledge and skills gap. The knowledge and skills gap then holds back development, which then reinforces the notion amongst us Africans that here in Africa, there's nothing here. There's no opportunities. Because the people we need to develop Africa are going to develop someone else's economy. And then it causes more people to come to that conclusion that the West is best and I need to travel.
Yeah.
So as Africans and African diasporans, we have created a self-reinforcing and almost we've created a sort of a self-perpetuating situation where we are creating the problem ourselves now. So that's a really, really big aspect. Another really big aspect is that because we haven't considered Africa as a viable economic destination, it means that we have been focusing our investments in the West.
Yeah.
And we focused our resources in propelling the West.
Yeah.
But let's actually think about, like, logically, what are we doing? We have, as a race of people, we have come to the conclusion that if I want to succeed in life, I need to leave my land. And it's not that I'm going to China, or I'm actually going to go to the land of the people who actually colonized me and held me back, to then go and help them develop their economy even more, so that they have even more resources to maintain a world economic structure that keeps Africa exactly where it is. You see?
Yeah.
And that's another self-reinforcing pattern, because we have stored our treasures in the West.
Yeah.
We bank in the West, we invest in the West, we work in the West.
Yeah.
So all our economic productivity is going to building up the economies of our very colonizers. You see, so there's always a conversation that the only people enslaving us in the modern times is basically ourselves.
Yeah.
So I would say these two tied together, that's the long-term consequences, is that it's created a system where we are perpetuating our own stagnation.
Exactly. My little bit to add to that is, for any economy to develop, it needs exactly what you said. It needs the human capital, it needs the financial capital, and I'll argue the market, if you like. The market, I'll talk about the market because that's somewhere you've not touched. See, in Ghana, even today, I went to the shop. Well, on my way here, I had a puncture in my tire. So I went to the organizers, and as we have them in Ghana, they are along the road. And as I was sitting in the car, a lady comes out from the shop. "Oh, mommy, I've got things. Do you want to come and see?" Go in the shop. She's like, "Oh, this and this and this is from Dubai." This, I'm like, "Okay, do you have any Ghanaian products? Because I'm not interested." He said, oh yeah, we have Ghanaian products. And they did have quite a fair bit. But her first mindset wasn't that
which is foreign,
exactly,
is
it's better.
automatically going to be more attractive.
Exactly. And this is the problem that we have. Everything that is made in Africa, we have to question. We have to look at it again. We'll have to think, maybe I'll buy that one later, but I want the one that is from abroad. And that again is another thing that adds to the capital flight, and even in terms of finances, most of the world's needs are in Africa in terms of raw materials. Why are we poor? So all these things are self-perpetuating mechanisms that keeps us in that cycle, which we have to break. We have to mentally, deliberately, intentionally break.
Yeah. I mean, we wrote The Great Return couple 3 years ago or something like that. And actually reflecting upon some of what we wrote, I actually think we give too much credit to the perceived colonizers and institutions that are holding back Africa. Because whilst, as we highlighted, what they do definitely holds back Africa.
I won't dispute that they are.
I actually, the more I learn, the more on the ground, I'm actually realizing that most of our issues, it's really based on the relationship we have with ourselves and our country. Because yes, I'm glad you actually mentioned that component. That the other component of why this negative perception has some of the long-term impacts it has is that none of us are economically patriotic.
No,
in the slightest.
not at all. But we don't see it.
Yeah. In fact, to be honest with you, it's human nature. So you see these patterns in similar places. So for example, in Egypt, when Egypt was colonized by the French, initially Napoleon, and then after that, it's pretty much always been colonized either France or England. Their elites, a way of symbolizing your class status was to not even speak Egyptian.
Yeah.
You see, so when you look at Ghana, that's where we are.
Yeah.
Is that if you can associate yourself with as much things that represent foreignness, you're perceived as higher value.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
so that's another key thing is that us having this negative perception about Africa, not seeing it as an economic destination, even though everyone else does,
Yeah.
means that we have developed a culture of a lack of economic patriotism. And it's an economic patriotism is a core ingredient for any developing nation.
Absolutely.
It has to be engineered in the society.
Yeah.
We once had that mindset with when Nkrumah was beginning and all that, but unfortunately that has totally gone.
So I agree with you to an extent, and I also think we cannot downplay yes, it is up to us. We are now perpetuating what has been instilled in us.
Yes.
And that is a bit that we really need to touch on, person to person, individually. Ask yourself, when you go to buy stuff, ask yourself, when you're doing anything, when you're relating to another person, don't just judge them by Western standards. Ask yourself, really, maybe you need to do a bit more work for understanding to prevail, but it is important to do that work. So I do believe that what has been ingrained in us is very, very strong. We shouldn't underestimate. It is very, very strong. So we have to take that on board and then sort of be ready to fight for what we want, even in ourselves, not even with anybody else, but in ourselves, fight for what we want. Because at the end of the day, Africa is a very good economic destination. And if we don't start working on that mindset, working on the things that are deeply buried in our psyche to reverse the way we think, we will flutter around and then other people will again make the most of it.
Yeah.
Whilst we are left behind.
Let me just add another thing to just what you've said is that I really want people to understand that economic patriotism, I think one thing I would really like the global diaspora to understand about what it is we're saying and what we're trying to promote in terms of a change in perception or how we perceive Africa is that we need to separate. We are not having a conversation here about charity.
No, not
all.
at all. Not at all.
When we speak of economic patriotism, it's rooted in self-interest to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Because if you are a Ghanaian, that means that economically speaking, you're governed by the city. Whether you like it or not, it is in your interest to maintain the value, strength, and growth of the value of that, because that is the economic border, whatever you want to call it, that you're governed
That's
under.
your economic umbrella.
It doesn't matter if I am this tribe, that tribe, or whatever. If you are under the Ghanaian city, we are all basically on one team.
Yeah.
Whether we look, so we are entangled. The interesting thing about economics is that it's one of the areas of life where it creates a self-reinforcing mechanism, like we've discussed.
Yeah.
And you can actually set the pattern in place. You see, for example, like in the stock market, if there is a belief that AI is going to be the next big thing, it causes people to invest in AI,
Yeah.
which then propels the value of AI
to go
stocks,
up. Mm-hmm.
which then signals to more people that, oh, there is growth in AI. So then
So
they invest.
more people
The
come in.
economy is like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not economically patriotic, there's the multiplier effect. It means that you're actually, it's like a football team. You don't know that you're on this team.
Yeah.
You don't know that you're actually even playing a game.
Again, yeah.
But I keep telling people, I keep saying it multiple times that economics is warfare. It's the modern form of warfare.
Yeah.
You see, so we all have to really ask ourselves, what team do you play for?
Exactly.
You see, so economic patriotism, we're not speaking about charity and, oh yeah, let's help Ghana, this, Africa. No, we're saying it's literally in your economic self-interest
Yeah.
to be economically patriotic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so why does this conventional attitude need to be challenged? And what is the evidence that this assumption is no longer true?
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be challenged because myself personally, I feel like when I studied the environment, seeing the massive opportunity available in Africa, and I'm seeing who is taking advantage of it, and it doesn't look like me.
Yeah.
That really gets to me. You see, because what is actually happening is that major investments are being made by different parties all across the world, all in Africa.
Yeah.
You see, we are witnessing the second scramble for Africa.
Yes.
There was the first one
Yeah.
before we got colonized. Now we are in the second scramble for Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing everyone pitch their tent. And I just don't see any of us do anything on a real level. Yes, yes. There's definitely a pattern of some of us coming back, starting our little businesses here and there. But where the serious action is, we are not even part of the game.
Yes.
So unless this perception is challenged, this is what's going to happen. Like, we're literally going to watch people just make money from Africa.
Yes. And
we are
still going to be down and keeping that cycle going for other people.
Yeah.
It's like we've just said, it needs to be challenged because all Africa and its people are doing. I keep saying we are in a wheel, and we are just going like that, and working so hard, but for somebody else.
Yeah.
So we never seem to be getting out of that, having to work so hard for nothing. We keep maintaining. So until we challenge this perception and expose why it is, and this is the other thing, the more we talk about it, the more each and every one of us understands where it's coming from, and each individual actually does something about it, so that in our own small ways, they will all add up. This is not about you forgetting and dumping everything and coming to champion. No. But it is about in every decision you're making, how are you showing patriotism to the homeland in every, and it's not just patriotism as in by itself, like we're saying, but it is investments, it is making money, but you're making money in the right places, not making money for somebody to keep using it to keep putting you down and keep extracting from you. So it is very, very important that we challenge this sort of negative propaganda. We challenge the status quo and we start doing things. I mean, buying from Africa, getting, doing investments in those things. As AJ, you are saying, once we start doing those things, small in all our individual ways,
it creates a self-reinforcing pattern again, where the more success stories, the more people are convinced.
Exactly.
The more people decide to join, the more it even makes it more successful, and it's a self-reinforcing thing.
Yes.
But now it's really the time to begin.
It is.
But you were also asking, where are the signs that this conventional wisdom needs to be challenged. And it's everywhere. Just look at the West. Let's look at the overall key trends of the West. Aging demographic. Europe. I mean, America is not too bad. I mean, America, they're all in it. Europe, UK. Okay. Yeah, so another thing you were asking about is what actually are the signs, or what is happening that means that this conventional wisdom needs to be challenged.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Western Hemisphere, if you look at the UK, you look at Europe, and you look at North America, and you look at what are their major trends, economically speaking. First of all, they are all experiencing aging demographics. Their birth rates are too low. And in economics, having a young, vibrant population is very important, because they then provide a surplus for the older generation.
Yeah.
And it also creates a viable workforce. Unfortunately, they don't have any answers to that.
Yeah.
So it means economically, their capacity to be productive is already shrinking. I mean, also, all economies follow a life cycle.
Yeah.
The West has already experienced its boom. If you weren't in the West in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's gone. You see, now the West has stabilized, and now it's stagnating. That is why it's very hard for their economies to grow beyond 2%. What that is signaling to you is that there is not new wealth being created in the West. What is the third trend we are seeing? The West, as it's maturing, when an economy matures, it starts to refine itself. Refinement from an economic standpoint, I mean, it's trimming off excess stuff it doesn't need. When your economy matures, effort becomes focused more on efficiency. How can we do the same with less?
Yeah.
And that's when you see technology really come into the fray. And what trend has that led to? It's led to Western economies becoming so advanced that human capital is no longer worth as much as it used to be, and the trend is only getting worse. We are already seeing layoffs. In so many firms have announced multiple layoffs.
Yeah.
They are adopting automation, AI, and all those kind of things. So where is the jobs for you?
Yeah. So
let me just also add into some of the other key things is that yes, where are the jobs for you? And when you look at the West is also, we are seeing the disruption of the middle class. You see, I always say this, that we are entering a neo-feudal era where it's the next is just going to be rich, poor. The middle class is going to become so tiny.
yeah.
You know, it's experts even say that in the next 10, 20 years, what you will classify middle class, adjusted for inflation, is you will need to be you need to earn 1 million a year.
Yeah.
Now, right now, how many, even us diasporans, are earning close to 100K plus?
Yeah.
It's only 5% of the population of all of the West. I mean, let's look at the UK, for example. That is even earning 100,000.
Yeah.
And the trajectory is that in the future of the Western economies, to be middle class, that means to maintain the current middle class standard, you will need to be basically in the future a millionaire.
Yeah.
So where is your economic opportunity? Where are your jobs thing? People already know. I mean, you live in the West. Wages are stagnating. What is that telling you? That you're not worth that much anymore to the economy. You see? So yeah, there's a lot of things we can go into, but I think it's very clear that if you are trying to think purely economically, it does not make any sense to look at the West as a place where I'm going to put all my eggs in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And finally, look at the UK recently. How many millionaires are leaving the UK? Why are they leaving the UK?
Yeah.
You see, so the evidence is very clear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, we've said all this about why we need to challenge that that negative mindset, negative, thinking about Africa not being an economic destination. And we've said so many things, but I'll give an example where sometimes we feel we are getting there, but we are not. We are barely scratching the surface. So, in Ghana, we do work with a lot of diasporans. So we do have conversations and that sort of thing. And it still amazes me to hear and learn that people who have left and come here to live and work and do, businesses and that, their idea still, even about investing in Ghana and in Africa, is so negative. It's
very,
very negative. And sometimes I wonder, so what is the point of what we think we're doing if we are easy to criticize, easy to bring out all sorts of negative aspects? We've talked in the past about how it is the slightest thing that happens in Africa, anywhere in Africa, gets on the news and it's like, whoa, that place is a scary place. It's the same with business and investing. So the slightest thing that happens goes in the paper. But when you go to the West, the number of things that goes on, that is, people lose money and all that, but it's as if it's all a part of normal business, normal risk taking. But we don't actually see these things happening here as part of business and part of risk taking, And this is where I say, for me, a lot depends on us and us working on our psyche about what it is, what are we trying to achieve? Are we just trying to move away from the West and come and live here and still put our money in the West? Well, that just keeps the cycle going, and that just makes Africa less profitable for people like us. It won't make it less profitable because Africa is on the rise.
Yeah.
So it will just make it less profitable for people like us, which means that eventually all your hard-earned money that you're still investing abroad and all of that, when it comes down to it means it's making that place richer, and that system is keeping us poorer, and we're not going anywhere. So don't let us be, feel like, oh, we've arrived, feel like, oh, we are doing stuff. We are barely scratching the surface. We need to understand that the more work needs to go in.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add to that really quickly is, yes, we are coming here. You run a farm. We do Teach Africa. Someone has set up this. All of these things are nice and it's great. It will make you money, all that kind of thing. But I don't think we actually understand when I say opportunity here. And perhaps it would be good to do an episode on whether we diasporans actually have a wealth mindset. Because I think a lot of it is that issue. I don't think we do. I actually think we've been programmed not to even feel weird about the concept of wealth.
Yeah.
You see. So I think a whole conversation has to be had about that, because the opportunity in Africa is not to come here and start some small thing. It's about scaling. It's about operating in a structured and formalized way at large scale collective level.
Yes.
Serious impact.
Yes.
You see, because the real wealth in Africa requires serious investment that has to be done at a collective and structured level. You see,
definitely.
If you are thinking, oh, I'm coming here and I'm going to, yes, that's great for you personally, but you're actually limiting the full scope of the opportunity you have.
Yeah.
You see, and a conversation about what wealth actually means and how we actually understand wealth. Because sometimes people think wealth is just about you want to make money. Like, money is a means to an end.
Yeah.
So
What is that end?
What is that end for you? Do you even have an end? And why don't you think in a wealth mindset?
Yeah.
That is a serious question we have to ask, because it's very clear that when I look at the Lebanese, when I look at the Chinese, Indians, you name it, clearly they are using Africa and operating clearly with a wealth mindset.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on. I want us to look at the changing world order, falling of the West. So we know that we are now living in times of great change globally, particularly the changing international order as we move from a unipolar world ruled by the Western Hemisphere to a multipolar world with the rise of BRICS. What do diasporans need to know about the ongoing fall of the West? And do we even think diasporans are actually prepared for this?
Yes, again, going back to we don't really think with a wealth mindset is, I'll make it very simple. At the moment, we are enjoying the currency disparity.
Yeah.
We are enjoying the fact that my small dollars or pounds, I come here and it's big.
Yeah.
And some people, they get to live a lifestyle that they can't afford really if they were in the West.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us, it's opened up an avenue to start some real investments, build businesses, invest in other businesses in ways that we can't do. I don't think we are conscious of the fact that timing is actually critical in this thing. Because as we shift into a multipolar world, one of the major things that would directly affect diasporans is the value of the dollar. You see, for a long period of time, the dollar has been a world reserve currency.
Yeah.
And that was the case before the US, it was Britain. Before Britain, it was the Netherlands.
Right.
In general, when you have an empire, you get to have a world reserve currency. And that gives you so many different advantages artificially, because the whole world needs your currency. What that has done for the Western Hemisphere, it's allowed people to artificially have a better living standard, because they are buying things and importing, and it's cheaper than getting locals to make it.
Yeah.
And for us diasporans, we can travel to Ghana and come and do our thing and feel like, but if the dollar is weakening, your capacity to even travel to Ghana, relocate to Ghana and maintain what kind of lifestyle you think you were making, if all your eggs are banked in the dollar, that opportunity is going away.
Yeah.
The main thing I'm saying is that this time frame we're living in, where Ghana to dollar is the disparity is that vast. It's not that's not necessarily what's going to be happening in the future. Because overall the demand for dollars is going down. So the value of dollars is going down. So if most of your assets, whether in physical cash or other forms of assets, are in dollars, your future is that asset is going to depreciate.
Yeah.
So that is a major thing that diasporans need to be aware of. You see, as we're moving into a multipolar world, again, we need to challenge the conventional thinking. Because if we were going there to earn dollars because it's big at home, then why are we carrying on going there if in the future, and the trend is that the dollar is no longer going to be what it is now?
Yeah.
You see, so it's actually a real issue that a lot of diasporans who hold this perception about the West is best, they might actually find themselves in a situation that when they're ready to come to Africa,
their money doesn't go.
You will not even be able to afford like Accra is not cheap.
It's not, no.
So think of Accra 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Think of your dollars in relation to Accra 10 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, these are the harsh realities. So I'm saying that even if you don't care about wanting to do business or invest here, you just want to come here, retire, or you want to come here because you can work remotely and you want the better lifestyle, all of that kind of thing. Your capacity to achieve that is not guaranteed in the future.
Yeah.
Because the where you're coming from it's on the decline, and the rest of the world is on the upside. So if your money is not being banked in currencies like the Chinese currency and all that kind of thing, you are you see, we just happen to be living in an economy that happens to run the world. But empires have their cycles. You see, so that's something that is very important diasporans need to wear, and that's why we seriously have to have conversations like this to understand how are we positioning ourselves in relation to this harsh reality.
How are we making sure that we are investing in the right places?
Yes,
for the future, not
for the future. Yes,
not for today, but for the near, not far future, but for the near future.
And in anything, there are always going to be winners and losers.
Yes.
The question I want us to ask ourselves, and what we diasporans need to ask ourselves is, we didn't go over there for romantic reasons. It was hard, pragmatic. There is no pride in being a diasporan.
No.
It's the concept of a diasporan means you don't have a home. So there's nothing to be celebrated about not having a place to call home. But we did it because we felt it was our only necessary thing. So I'm asking diasporans, with that same vigor, can you assess the time periods we live in? Look at the parts of the world you have chosen to move to and ask yourself, and then look at what's happening in Africa and ask yourself, 10 years, 15 years from now, if I'm still here, and if I went to Africa, invested or did business in Africa, all that kind of thing, where would I be? Because in an economy, there's no middle. You are going to be on the winning side and losing side. Us diasporans, we mainly were in the West, so we've by default benefited from the West's domination of the world. You know, we didn't travel to China or Russia and all. If we were in Russia, we won't be coming here dirty December. What money? You see, but now the situation is changing. So we actually really, on a very selfish level, look at yourself and economically ask yourself, am I in the right place? Because in an economy, there's always winners and losers. This changing unipolar to multipolar, there are going to be great winners and great losers. So we diasporans, which side do we want to fall in?
So with all of that, does Africa present an attractive alternative for diasporans as a result of the impending fall of the West then?
Yes, I mean, 100%, because there are this transitioning is interesting, because we're geopolitically speaking, if you're rooting for Africa, you kind of have to be betting against the West. It's actually, like I said, it's really like that. Like the West can't do well and Africa to do well. Unfortunately, no. And as we shift into a multipolar world, why is it good for Africa? Well, I think I've said it before, but the World Economic Forum, which is basically the biggest think tank for international capital and business, they've said it themselves that going forward, Africa is not going to be a place of just raw resource extraction. They're going to actually try and make things there.
And it started.
You see, and you can already see the signs. That already means that Africa is going to industrialize. So that's Africa's future. I'm not saying that means that economic growth will lead to economic prosperity for the African. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm just saying that Africa is going to industrialize. Whilst the West is deindustrializing. Another key thing about the shift in the multipolar world is, you see, in the Cold War period of time, people like Nkrumah, they can play off the West with the USSR. So like Nkrumah and stuff, they went to the Soviet Union, and I was saying how they adopted socialist systems and all that kind of thing. But when the Cold War pretty much ended and it became clear that the West had won, unfortunately, African nations had no bargaining power anymore, because before they will go, oh, well, if you don't do this, we'll go to these guys. And if these guys, then we'll, so they could, that's how it works in geopolitics. Smaller, less powerful nations play off bigger powers against each other. That completely was wiped away when the Cold War ended. So it basically meant the West tells us this, we say yes, sir. That's it, because we have no leverage. And because you see, but now we're going back to Cold War period time, because what does multipolar means? It means there's different powers that are themselves capable of standing up to the US or offering deals that are more attractive than what the West does. So like we spoke, I think last week, about China. China's strategy is that, the IMF and World Bank and the West, they keep telling you need all these conditionalities. As for us, no. If you can pay, cool.
That's it.
If you can't pay, then give us access to your resources. But me, I don't care if you're a fascist, dictator, Democrat. That's not my concern.
No.
So that's their strategy. So more if Russia also develops, rises, if Brazil rises, if India rises, the same thing. It's more people that we can negotiate with, which gives Africa the power to be able to get the best deals. You see, so these are two major key aspects of a changing multipolar world that actually directly benefits Africa. You see, and finally, Africa is going to be a major consumer market. The thing about economics is international capital always has to seek new places to make more money. You can't make more money in the West because it's a mature economy. And I think we did a show where we talked about the relationship between risk and return. So if international capital itself is leaving the West, that is what is that. When the World Economic Forum announce certain things, it's like, if you understand these things, they are telling you what they are doing. We live in a world, it's called transnational capital. So in the world, we have domestic capital. And it circulates. Then we have transnational capital. This is capital that doesn't have any affiliation to any nation, sovereign, whatever. It's pure. It moves where value is. That's it. And international capital is shifting itself. So Wall Street, London, they are all restructuring themselves to shift capital to these emerging places, because economically there's not more money to be made in the West. The only where real money is being made, if you look at the past 20 years, look at all who are becoming billionaires. Tech. What is technology? Technology is finding better ways to do the same thing. So wealth in the West nowadays comes from innovation and disruption, not from inventing new things or developing industries, because it's already mature. So the West, if you want to be very wealthy, you have to figure out a better way of doing what's already been done. But in terms of creating new wealth, like whole industries, whole sectors, it's not the West.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's like we're saying, civilizations rise and fall, and major powers will go up and they will come down. I personally believe when there's unfairness, nothing that is based on unfairness can ever be sustained. Eventually, it will crumble. And for me, I think the West is going to fall because its whole thing has been based on like an unfairness arrangement, if you like. So we keep saying the West develops and all of that. Development, in my eyes, right, we as a world can develop together. We're choosing the wrong way to do it.
Oh, yes, 100%. I mean, we practice, this is what I was saying last time, is that we practice capitalism. And it's very clear what capitalism is. And I try to simplify it in a very small thing. Capitalism is literally a game, a type of economic game we are playing, which is winner takes all.
You see, but it doesn't, that always has consequences.
Yes.
And for human nature, no one will be okay to be left behind or to be used. I think that's the word. To be used for another's gain in perpetuity. Eventually, people will rise up. And for me, I think that's part of the whole thing. They keep creating wars and things, but it comes back to bite you because that is how nature is. It has to be self-balancing anyway. So I think regardless of whatever happens, and this is why I believe part of the reason why it is falling and Africa will rise. But the point is, if we are not careful, how are we also going to rise?
Yes, I mean, that's the whole
That's the main thing.
Is that this is what we are saying, and this is why it's very, very, very important. Because, yes, Africa is going to develop. Africa is going to industrialize. There is going to be a lot of new wealth created in Africa. A lot of people are going to be making money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of the people who will make most of the money wouldn't look like us.
Exactly.
But secondly, the development that will take place in Africa, the type of development that we're currently under, is not going to have really any effect on the majority of the citizens, because you can have economic growth without economic prosperity. That's what people never consider.
Yes, exactly.
But if diasporans get more involved in Africa, seriously look at it as an economic destination, we can pursue a development-led investment thesis that not only builds wealth for us, but directly also leads to not just economic growth, but economic growth that actually leads to prosperity overall.
It aligns with African values.
Yes.
It aligns with our culture. It aligns with who we are as a people, like deeply.
Yes.
So that we can still continue to live our lives in the way that we believe is right, but still develop, still make money, still control things such that things are not pushed on us where we have no choice.
A little anecdote just about what you were saying too about the fall of the West. You know, I'm also learning, you see, and I told you about the book I'm reading, The Changing World Order.
Yeah.
This was written by, he's worth 50 billion. He manages Bridgewater House, which is one of the biggest hedge funds. Okay. So again, I'm speaking about transnational capital. This guy literally wrote a book breaking down the patterns of all empires and economies. He wrote it because he's a finance guy.
Okay.
He's trying to evaluate America and the US and ask himself, is our positioning right or wrong? Because he gets paid for following the money. Where is the next thing?
Yes.
So originally he did the study just so that he can better make investment decisions. Then he wrote a book out of it. You see, so if the people who move money at the highest levels are writing books saying that, yes, they need to reposition because they can tell that we have entered a certain phase. What are you doing?
Yeah. Okay, so I want us to finish this section off by looking at how can we be sure that Africa is definitely on the rise. Now, I ask this question because often I speak to people, and often you see the skepticism. People who are also showing signs that, they are on board with what is going on, the change that is coming. But still, a lot of them still are a bit unsure. Are we really sure? How can we be sure that definitely Africa is on the rise and it is where people should be betting their money?
Yeah, so I think we have to be clear about what we mean by Africa is on the rise. What we are saying is that Africa, due to a lot of the reasons, not really itself, is going to benefit from certain development. So again, let's remove economic growth from individual prosperity or national prosperity. They are not the same.
No.
What we are saying is that the region Africa, new wealth is going to be produced out of it.
Yes.
We are not saying that Africans are going to become wealthy.
Exactly.
Two different things. What we're saying is that this new wealth that is going to come up, we diasporans are not positioned to have access to any of it because we don't even see where we're
We are
from.
not positioning ourselves. Yes.
But in the world of business and investing, and again, it goes back to we don't have a wealth mindset. A lot of us were employees.
Yeah.
We've been trained to work, earn money. You see, that is what we know. We never understand that the economic game is always about first mover advantage. You don't build wealth by arriving at the party when everyone is there.
No.
If the party starts at 5, economically, you need to get there at 4.
Yeah.
Because by the time everyone's at 5, assets are already too expensive. There's no gain. The gain has been priced in. It's like the stock market with Nvidia and Tesla and all that. Now it's not the time to invest in Tesla and Nvidia because it's already been priced in.
Yeah.
It was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And how do you know? You know because there are metrics that people use to assess an economy.
Yeah.
You see, bank is the same metrics. So it's very easy to study any region, just like you can evaluate a business and objectively say, is this business profitable or not?
Yeah.
What is its future forecast?
Yeah.
No one is saying this is 100% guaranteed, but the key indicators, the key economic indicators are pointing to that fact.
Yeah.
Africa does have a growing middle class. That's not a opinion. That's what's happening. Africa is creating the biggest single market. That's happening.
Yeah.
The West is seriously looking to reinvest in Africa. We know other parties are investing in Africa. There are so many sovereign wealth funds coming from Asia. That's not
that's not debatable.
That's not debatable. Most of the precious resources needed to support our AI world, a lot of the core materials are coming from Africa. You see, and we've already talked about, people always say we have a young population. Africa also, outside of the rich resources we have, the world is going to need Africa to feed the world.
Yeah.
You see, so we can keep going on and on, but by any major economic indication, like look at Ghana's stock market was appreciated by 76%, something like that last year.
Yeah.
What did the US stock market do? It's not even close.
Yeah.
You see, so all these things are there. If you can see the signs, no one's going to come and sit you down and go, oh, this is 100% and present the information to you, because we live in a competitive world. People are positioning. This guy wrote a book because he's trying to get an edge over other hedge funds. He wants to be able to see. His whole thing was, can I algorithmic sorry.
The word is not coming.
Can I create some kind of framework or algorithm that allows me to predict where an economy is so that I can position myself?
Right.
You see, that's what his thing was.
Yeah.
And A Changing World Order, the book he wrote, is saying that yes, basically America is entering the beginning of the final of its demise.
Yeah. Okay.
And there are certain patterns that take place. So if you're an investor, if you're in finance, you can start positioning yourself in different kinds of ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in finance, you can make money if things are bad or good. So someone like him, he wants to know because it's timing.
Yes.
It's just like he was also one of the people who benefited from the mortgage issue thing, the credit crunch thing.
Right.
There's a very big correlation with if you want to make money and timing. So in the people who are serious financial professionals, they are always trying to gauge where are we and where are we going.
Yeah.
So it's not really it's not a dispute. It's the question of whether you have done the information to learn for yourself, because it is pretty much it's not some opaque or it's very obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Africa is rising, but people misconstrue Africa rising, meaning that we are saying Africa is going to benefit
Africans. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not saying that at all. In fact, where it's going, nope, it's more of the same.
Yeah.
Probably even worse.
Yeah.
You see?
Unless
yes,
we all come together and stand up and do the right thing.
Yeah.
So we can create wealth for ourselves and in so doing,
Yes.
develop Africa
Yes.
in
Exactly.
the right way
Way.
that we think
Yes.
is important. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want us to talk about opportunities available to diasporans in Africa. So we know that the conventional thinking that the West is best is no longer true. That's what we've talked about. Can we delve deeper into some of the opportunities available to diasporans here in Africa that the West doesn't provide?
Yeah. So first of all, like we've said, the West is maturing. Human capital is becoming less and less valuable.
Yeah.
Africa still has a major brain drain problem. So even if you're employee oriented, then your skill sets are going to be highly valued in the years to come in Africa.
In Africa, yeah.
But in the West, not
as much, yeah.
we can program your skill set with an AI agent.
Yeah.
Africa is nowhere close to adopting these things. So, but Africa has a human capital flight and a brain drain problem. So on just the simple employee mindset type thing, in the next few years, as people struggle to get employment because jobs are not like that in the West, one of the regions where there will be job opportunities, which us diasporans need to remember, it's not just going to be us that are going to wanting to travel.
No,
you see,
that's true.
Is that Africa is going to be one of those places that will have to try and employ international
labor.
So on that basic level, that is a straightaway opportunity. Another major opportunity is like we speak of, if you understand the contextual period of where Africa is. Africa is in a pre-industrial, like it's getting ready to industrialize, modernize, develop, all that kind of thing. This particular moment for any economy, this is when serious wealth and generational wealth is built. Now, people look at Africa totally wrong. Africa is not a place for an employee, although just because of changing dynamics, there are opportunities and it's going to grow. The real opportunity in any developing economy, like the whole African region, is the fact that it's basically an entrepreneur's paradise.
Yeah.
You see, all the great families that we hear of that have built wealth, they all did it in their time period when this situation emerged. One guy was like, I'm going to solve the electricity problem. That's where Rockefeller came in.
Okay.
Vanderbilt was like, I'm going to try and systemize and solve the railway problem.
Yeah.
Carnegie's like, I'm going to try and systemize and solve the steel problem. You see, so if you're entrepreneurially oriented, if you're a diasporan, and I think this is an important thing as well. I think especially for African Americans, because this negative perception of Africa was given to them so long, a lot of them thought they can climb the ladder. But it's very clear that there's a ceiling. And you are never going to get rich working for somebody either. But if you are seriously entrepreneurially minded and you want to be your own boss, Africa is literally a dreamland for you.
Yeah.
So yes, if you don't think like this, Africa is not for you. But if you really want to be your own boss, you are serious about building serious wealth, the type of wealth that creates generational wealth, and you want to pursue the path of entrepreneurship, from a business standpoint, Africa is your place. So that's business. But investment-wise, again, is the same thing. But investing, we need to separate that from business, because the opportunity is to invest in those companies that will become BP, Shell.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
all these big companies.
Yeah.
Africa's ones are starting now. That's why Africa's financial markets is probably one of the hottest to be investing in across the world, because our stock markets are still very new. But these companies, they are growing still. And more are entering. Ghana's only has 20. The UK, they have 100. So you can imagine Ghana's is still developed, like the stock market is developing. So from an investment standpoint, Ghana's stock market returns 73%. That means if you invested like $10,000 last year and then you sold all your shares this year, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You would have made an extra like 7,300.
Yeah.
That's crazy returns.
Crazy, yeah.
Why is this happening? Because Africa is going through a development process. These companies are the core aspects. These are the ones that turn into the giants. So if you are trying to make money as a serious investor, being able to get in early when these companies are still in their growth phase is paramount.
The best. Yes. Yeah.
So
That's when
there's serious wealth to be made just passively, just if all you ever did was just invest in African financial markets.
Yeah.
Even in the West, people have built wealth, built passive income from just purely putting their market in the markets. Passive funds that it just tracks indexes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just on that basic level of investment, there's such a huge opportunity. You can buy MTN stocks now for like two. So I always get like two cities.
Yeah.
MTN. You see, where is most of the growth happening? Telecommunications, financial services. You can buy a share in MTN. MTN was Ghana's best performing stock last year.
Yeah.
I think it also on its own rose by that same amount, like 70 something.
Yeah.
That's one stock. And telecommunications is on the up.
Yeah.
Why? Because Africa is digitizing. Look at everyone with a phone. Everyone's on Momo. All of that. That's all telecommunication.
Yeah.
And that infrastructure. And the banking aspect is fused into it.
Yeah.
So from a employment standpoint, there's actually just due to circumstances, there's actually, you can get more opportunities in Africa than in the West if you just want looking for a job, especially if you're a highly skilled person. You see, but from a business standpoint, if you're a serious entrepreneur, this is your paradise. There's actually too many opportunities.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been here long enough, they'll tell you that you see opportunities everywhere. So some of the challenges is actually knowing how to decide what you will do and not do.
Yeah.
And then again, if you want to invest and take advantage of the fact that there's going to be all this wealth created right now is the best time. You can be parking your money in various investments on the most basic level, accessing African financial markets.
Yeah. It's the best time to invest.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, people, even government says don't necessarily come here looking for a job. And that is true for now. But what we are saying is, in the very near future, for very highly skilled people, there are going to be a lot of job creation in Africa because of the trajectory of development that we are seeing.
It's even the fact that international money is coming in and international business is coming in. So they want to employ the best they can find.
Exactly.
And the harsh reality is that the local talent is not there.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that there's going to be jobs opened up specifically for the diaspora. We're saying that in general, this is an opportunity. Like, you actually stand better employment opportunities here in Africa than you would in the West going forward. If you're a highly skilled person.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so often it is said to diasporans, invest in Africa. But I think a lot of clarity needs to be shared on what we mean when we say investing in Africa. Many times it feels like when people tell diasporans to invest in Africa, they are actually telling them to come and start businesses. But whilst this might be a great opportunity for some diasporans, is it really practical for most diasporans to come and start a business? So what do people actually mean? Or what are we saying when we say invest in Africa? What are we saying if most people think you're trying to say come and start a business?
Yeah, so we've already highlighted that, yes, if you're entrepreneurially or oriented, Africa is a paradise for you
It is.
to come here physically.
Yes.
Because you can't do business in Africa remotely.
Yeah.
You literally is a boots on the ground thing. Yes. For a certain percentage of us, that makes sense.
Yeah, we can do that.
You see, but we wrap it all with investing like it's one same thing. And the fact of the matter is, we're trying to say that there is an opportunity, you personally as a diasporan, we're not saying you need to leave, uproot your life, come to Ghana or whatever and try and start some business. You haven't even run a business before. All of that. No, we're saying that there is an opportunity for you to strategically leverage Africa as a way to achieve whatever your financial goals and objectives are.
Yeah.
If you want to achieve financial freedom, build a legacy, make an impact, have passive income for your retirement, whatever your financial motivations are, what we are saying is that a gap in the market has opened where Africa presents an opportunity where you can leverage Africa from an investment standpoint. That means putting your money where the wealth is being generated.
Yeah.
That does not mean you physically coming here. But yes, there's obviously challenges with that. And that is kind of like why we exist as an organization. But what we are fundamentally saying is that for most people, the opportunity is not that you should quit your job, come here, whatever, all of that. No, we're saying that start seriously looking at Africa as a real economic destination. Start realizing that what little you think you have travels very far in Africa. And if you are smart and if you connect with the right organizations, you can get access to investment opportunities, investment products that can significantly be leveraged as a way to achieve whatever your financial goals are. And we all have financial goals. So I'm saying be extremely pragmatic about what we're saying. We're not selling idealism or wishful thinking. We're saying no. If you have financial goals and objectives that you want to achieve, there is an opportunity for you to leverage Africa to achieve those things.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying to people.
So don't get up and think, I'm going to sell everything I own and I'm going to go to Africa and do something.
Yeah.
Unless you're passionate about something in particular and you've really gone through what you need to do. You've sourced your money and you've sourced how you're going to do it. You really know how you're going to.
And most importantly, like, it's a commitment. So
Yes,
there's
exactly.
no, oh, I still have my job there, and then if it goes bad, no. What I'm learning is you have to be all in, because there are too many reasons which will make you stop.
Yes, and it will make you fail.
Yeah.
There are too many challenges in developing economies when doing business that will make you fail. If you have a good job and you have a good life over there, we're saying instead invest in Africa, because you make very good returns, which will go far to help you achieve your financial aims and objectives. And there are organizations here that can help you, like ours, TGR Africa. And but if you also feel like, actually, I've got an idea, I want to eventually move to come and start a business, equally, there are organizations like ours that can actually support you in time to prepare and get it right.
Yes, one thing I will say 100%, whilst there's great opportunities to do business and invest in, it is not advisable that people try to do it directly without the support of some kind of local organization to facilitate and support the whole process. Africa's economy is not the West's economy.
Exactly.
I can travel to the US, never been there, but I can pretty much get up and run it. I can go to this place to get my this, go to that to get my that, and they will do it as long as I provide the right thing.
Yeah.
I've got the courts there. Everything is there. I can operate. Ghana's not like that.
Yeah.
Yes, on the surface, Ghana has this, that, and the third, but it doesn't mean that it operates like that.
The way.
So don't project and assume you can do business here just because it also has a free market. It's got the same setup. Yes, Africa superficially looks like the West, but internally it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
You see, and what I'm proud of, or what we are doing and what we're trying to do, is to be that nexus to help facilitate whether it's business or investment, because it's really unpractical to try and go directly and think you can start a business here on yourself. You can, but are you prepared to accept the frustration, the money you will blow and all that? Because all of us have our stories. There's a reason why TG Africa exists. We can tell you how much money we've lost, all that, you see. So again, our interest is, how do we change that multiplier effect? If the conventional wisdom has been the West is best, we are trying to start a new conventional wisdom where Africa is best. But that only happens if people are doing business and investing the right way. And the right way in given the terrain you are going to look at, whilst there is a reason why there are high returns to be made in Africa. Because high returns comes with high risk. So if you are serious about taking advantage of this opportunity, people really need to humble themselves and understand that you need to have the support of the right organization that actually can help and guide you. Because it's not a straightforward environment like that at all.
Not at all. Okay then. So what is a practical approach that is more accessible to many diasporans interested in taking advantage of the wealth creation opportunities that are available in Africa? I think we've touched a bit on that already. We've talked about some of that already. But can we maybe look specifically at what those opportunities are that are not, how do I say, specifically about moving to Africa and setting up a business?
So I think we're probably going to do an episode on going deeper into these things in the near future. But at TG Africa, over the past few years, what we have been trying to do is be that nexus for diaspora business and investment. And what we've been trying to do is to form strategic partnerships with relevant local organizations that we have vetted, done the due diligence, and know they can facilitate various investment opportunities. One of the things that I think has become very clear to us as we try and help people invest here and all that is, most of us are amateur investors. We don't understand investing because, again, we have an employee mindset and we don't have a wealth creation mindset. So a lot of us don't understand investing. It's quite a foreign thing to us. And we've realized that we need to find a way to sort of package up things in a way that can make it simpler for people. So that, yes, you can be an amateur investor, but you can still be supported to take advantage of the opportunity. So what we have worked on is create investment pathways. And one of the most important things that we try and help people on is understanding their unique diaspora investor profile. Because my investor profile is not the same as yours. So how I should be investing in Africa is not the same that you should be investing in Africa. So one of the starting points we try to do is to help people understand their unique investor profile. But we've created about 5 investment pathways that we can actually support diasporans on to invest remotely. There is great opportunities to buy businesses here. So we have strategic partners that can help facilitate diasporans buying businesses and living off the passive income. And in the portfolio of our strategic partners, for example, it spans from buying a business all the way from $8,000 to $33 million and everything in between. But as a diasporan, right now, you can buy a successful, well-established business that's already profitable. That can be part of your investment portfolio. Everyone talks about real estate. Most of the time, people still tell people, like, come and, like, you have to come build all that kind of thing. But there are passive pathways. You see, There's real estate investment trusts you can invest in. You can do that anywhere in the world to get access to the real estate market.
Yeah.
You see, I'm sure we'll go into detail on some of these things
Yes.
in different episodes. But there are opportunities to invest in early stage ventures here that are seeking growth financing. You know, some of the fastest growing and most innovative companies. So think of Facebooks, Amazons, all these. Africa has its own. And actually, diasporan, you can actually afford to invest in some of these early stage ventures with huge growth potential.
Yeah.
Financial markets, again, we have the strategic relations to help facilitate buying bonds the right way, buying shares the right way.
Yeah.
But financial markets, that is something that all of us can tap into.
Yes.
You see, so these are some of the key pathways that are very practical and accessible to all diasporans at different levels of profiles and investment experience, knowledge, and expertise. Whether you are a sophisticated investor to an amateur investor.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I think that about concludes what we are discussing today. Is there anything else you want to share with our viewers and listeners?
No, what I'm really passionate about advocating of is if we can all actually reassess the relationship economically we have with Africa as a starting point, I think we'll all actually start realizing that this belief system that the West is best is not true in our modern times, and it's certainly not going to be true in the years to come. So as diasporans, how are we looking at this? Because we primarily moved abroad for economic reasons. So if the economic motivations are no longer there, why are we still behaving economically in the same way? That's the point we're speaking of, is our economic behavior. We're not telling people to uproot their lives. We're asking people to reassess their economic behavior. You see, why are you storing your treasures in the West if the West is not where it was, where it used to be?
Yeah.
What opportunities are in Africa that you can practically take advantage of? And then the question then becomes, who can help me invest?
Yeah.
You see, so for me, I just want people, us diasporans, to actually start realizing that no, the West is not best. And actually, you should seriously be considering, if you have a lot of assets in the West, how long you should really be exposed in the West. Because what do they always teach in investing? Diversifying.
Yes.
You're not just meant to be diversifying your portfolio. You're meant to be diversifying the regions of the world where your portfolio is exposed.
Yeah.
You see. So at the very minimum, start considering Africa as a real investment destination. Whether it is to come and do business, or start really looking at how can I plug in via the investment pathways.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Okay.
I would like people to.
Okay. So thanks very much for coming, AG. And you've heard it. The most important thing is about our economic behavior. How are we showing what we want through our money? So Africa now is on the rise, whether we like it or not. But who is going to gain from that rise? Let us make sure that we are the people that are going to gain. People like us all over the world. And in so doing, we will ensure that Africa is actually developed in a way that stays true to Africa culture, our belief system, and all of that. So that's it for today. Thanks so much to our cherished viewers and listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button now if you haven't already done so. And do share and like to amplify our voices to create the change, the positive change that we need. And don't forget to grab yourself a copy of our book, The Great Return, which is on Amazon in all forms. And if you are doing or thinking of doing business or investing in Ghana or Africa, then we can help. Get in touch by visiting our website, tgrafrica.com, and book a consultation to discuss all forms of collaborations and partnerships, both with us and with others, and also for business and investments, advice and guidance. And also, last but not least, to check out all the other great stuff we're doing, so you can get involved. See you in the next episode.